So, what we're going to look at today is the formation of major veins within the embryo. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the formation of the hepatic portal system and also the hepatic veins and several other vessels that are going to drain the midgut and hindgut. And why this is important is just to get a good kind of overview for where the variation can come from, what normal structures will arise from, and also just to kind of get a good context from where other structures can be brought about from. So we're also going to be considering where the gut forms through, what it arises from, and how it inherits its sort of characteristic shaping. So what we start off with is something that we've never really seen much of in kind of classic anatomy. Looks like an octopus. So we've got this is sort of a primitive structure of veins within the embryo. So you've got the sinus venosus here. Sinus venosus is just going to be the general venous through channel from the caudal end of the embryo to the cranial end of the embryo. And either side of it, you've got the cardinal veins. So the anterior cardinal vein going to be draining the cranial end of the embryo, and the posterior cardinal vein going to be draining the caudal end of the embryo. You've also got the umbilical veins, which are going to be bringing blood in from the placenta through to the heart, oxygenated blood that is. And we've also got the vitelline veins. And the vitelline veins are going to be draining the yolk sac of the embryo. So the yolk sac, remember, also a vital structure in terms of providing blood supply to the developing gastrointestinal and reproductive systems. And at this stage of the embryo, up until certain systems regain maturity, it's also a state of hematopoiesis or blood cell production, and it also provides a sense of endocrine and immune activity for the developing embryo. So we move on from this to week 2 to 3 now, and at this stage we see a bit of a different outlook here. So we've also still got the familiar pictures we had before here, but just in this sort of different context. So we've got the gut tube here, which is more central. At this stage is almost a straight tube, so it's quite easy to envisage. Extending down, again, I've put in a bit of a different context. We've got the placenta down here, which is going to be providing oxygenated blood for the embryo, and this is going to be going through straight up to the heart. The yolk sac down here, not really that shaped, more of a pear shape. However, it is connected through to the gut tube and will provide a blood supply through the developing gastrointestinal tract here. Also put a little star here, in the middle of the gut tube. It's an important anastomotic region. So it's going to be important, and we'll speak about that in a little second, for the formation of the liver. And it's just a cross communication either side of the vitelline veins. So the right and left vitelline veins are going to have a little communication up here. We'll get onto that in a little sec. So we move on from this to around about week 4. The way that it's different, again, you can see a couple of little things immediately. So you've got first of all, you've got the yolk sac down the bottom is getting a little bit smaller. So like I said, the systems are becoming a little bit more mature, and they're able to provide, there's development going on with the heart, and they're able to provide more blood supply to the developing structures there. We've also got more of an anastomosis throughout the length of the gut tube, and you can see through selective apoptosis or selective programmed cell death within the embryo, you've got a narrowing of the blood vessels of the umbilical veins here. And why is that important? Well, what you can see is the vitelline veins are having a connection and a communication with the umbilical veins up here, and they're going to form a new structure called the hepatocardiac vessel, or the hepatocardiac channels, right and left. And cardiac kind of makes sense because it's going up to where the heart would beat. And hepato, again, just because this is where the region is going to be developing through to the liver. And these vessels are going to provide the communication for the developing liver and will provide a shunt through the liver in the next slide. So we move on to week 5 now. And again, you've got a little bit of a different picture. So you can see, unfortunately, the yolk sac has gone. Again, the cardinal veins are extending out the way. And you've got, again, more programmed cell death, this time on the vitelline veins. So this is getting a little bit narrower now. But you've developed quite an important network of vessels within the liver. So these either side are the sinusoids of the liver. And from the placenta, you've got this shunt straight through the middle of the developing liver would be. And this is going to be known as the ductus venosus. And what the ductus venosus is going to do, it's quite an important shunt. It just means that there's going to be oxygenated blood coming through where the liver would be, and it's going to be able to provide more of an efficient pathway through to the heart to prevent sort of a loss of time, and it's a bit more efficient than going through all the little sinusoids either side there. You can see either side of the gut tube also, you've got a narrowing of the vitelline veins here. And what they're doing in either side of where the gut tube is coiling around, it's inheriting almost a sigmoidal shape. And that's going to be quite important when we come to speak about the more mature system. It makes, when the gut tube forms that C shape, it makes sense based on where the portal system is going to be coming through. So obviously when it curves around in the C, you've got the extension through of the portal system, initially posterior and then anterior to the duodenum. Okay, so finally, we've got a bit of a more familiar structure from our point of view in terms of pure anatomy. So I've outlined, you've not actually got the liver fully developed at this stage of week 6 to 8. However, I've just illustrated that to give us an idea of where we are. So this is the inferior vena cava coming up towards the developing heart tube. Still got the placenta providing blood supply through here. So the umbilical vein is coming up and is coming through to where the ductus venosus is going to be here. So you've still got that pathway through the liver, but you've also got the development of the hepatic veins, the portal veins right and left coming through to the liver. And now we're getting the development of the hepatic portal system. So prior to this, we didn't have as much of an extension through from the veins draining the midgut, but now that they're starting to get more defined, you've got the drainage of the superior mesenteric vein, which is going to be draining the likes of giving ileal and jejunal branches, also ileocolic, right colic branches, draining the colon as well. So, in a few weeks' time, you're going to get the formation of the inferior mesenteric vein. You've not got that just yet, but you're going to have the inferior mesenteric vein draining into splenic, and then splenic and superior mesenteric forming that union here of the hepatic portal system. Okay, see you soon.